Welcome everyone. This is the Working Group Device Management meeting on August 27th. We are falling under the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please remember, be kind to each other. We don't really have much on the agenda. I can give just a short status update, and then whoever is on the call can raise other topics, questions. Before we get started, do we have any new participants who want to introduce themselves? I tend to forget that. No? Okay. So yeah, I've been away for my summer vacation. In the meantime, progress on the Kubernetes 135 release, it's almost released, I believe. The core DRA got promoted to GA. There were some questions around lack of conformance testing because I didn't get that done in time. But I think all folks on the conformance team agreed that this is kind of a softer requirement because 100% coverage for conformance doesn't mean that the feature doesn't work. It just means that there is some missing test if someone wants to verify it in a cluster. And the actual bar for that is fairly low, so it doesn't really tell users that much anyway, even if there were tests. So the conclusion was we will add conformance tests in 135. Oh, sorry, I mixed up the numbers. The one where we went GA is 134. 135 is where we will add the conformance tests. And now we are slowly starting to plan for 135. We have some of our existing caps that we want to improve, perhaps. I've started a discussion on chat about device stains, where I have some new ideas which would add new API functionality, new API fields, but perhaps we can still do a beta anyway. Yeah, then of course all the other features basically need to look at their beta graduation criteria, feedback received during the review, and figure out whether they are ready to move forward and prove that or provide evidence, and then we can consider doing beta graduations. Okay, well, I should add that while we do this rough planning, nothing really has officially kicked off. So I fully expect that reviewers for CAPS are not yet paying close attention to CAP updates. That typically tends to start a bit later. People need a break and need to focus on something else for a while after the end of a release cycle, because that's always still quite a bit of work. And then there's a quieter period when people are recovering and ramping up again then before next cycle. So that may explain some lack of feedback on other already pending PRs. Same with code PRs. We are in code freeze, so nothing that currently gets approved in LGTM gets merged until the 134 release is officially out, and I think the release team then shortly afterwards opens the master branch for pending PRs again. Okay, that's all that I had on my mind. Any questions? Anything you guys want to discuss? Okay, Pang?
Yeah, actually, you have already answered all I would like to ask about, like the pending KEP update. But I just would like to ask another questions whether like there is one pending KEP update for like up to date. I mean, like until the current change. And there is another additional change that I would like to add to the KEP, for example, like the criteria for the beta or like what I'm going to do for the beta, for example. Should
Mhm.
I add in the same PR, like maybe the second commit or the same commit?
No, I think you can just update it in one PR,
Okay.
and there's no cap freeze or anything like that. We can merge cap updates at any time as long as we get the necessary reviewer attention. So there's no reason to wait. Sometimes it helps a little bit to structure cap updates into here's some uncontroversial, easy to merge editing, which typically shouldn't require much discussion. So this can go in quickly. And then if you have more controversial changes, doing those separately can help to, well, keeping that separate can get the other thing merged faster, but I don't see a big difference in your case, I suppose.
Okay, yeah. So I should update informations about the beta criterias or like the issue within the same.
I
Yeah.
think you can, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm,
Well,
Actually, I have another topic.
okay. Yes.
After I see like the previous meeting note that Morgan mentions about like, is there any way that we can let their like the user know the drivers support for like which feature? For examples, if I enable like consumable capacity in these drivers, how can like we let people know or something like that? Is there any idea on that? Or
I think the conclusion was that most of these features shouldn't really matter for users.
okay.
Say, for example, partitionable devices. If a driver supports that, it's not visible to the user. They just request a GPU and they get it, depending on the criteria that they have specified, no matter whether the the DRA driver uses partitionable devices or not. It's mostly just, well, educating your users what's happening under the hood. And we don't really have a standard way of listing that. We have now one page in the example repo. Don't have a link at help there. So there is a in the example DRA driver examples repo, there is a page on existing DRA drivers. I don't think it actually lists all the individual features, but perhaps we can have a. Let me see whether I can find that page. It's where did we put that? I think it was merged, and I think it was this repo. Oh, no, it was not the examples driver. It was our Kubernetes 6 DRA working group repository. Which interestingly doesn't show up here. Working group, perhaps?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one where we device ecosystem. Yeah, now I got it. So let's also put that into the meeting notes. So this is where we basically just have a table of we know about these vendors. Here's a link with more information and some description. And I think we are welcoming all DRA driver vendors to just add themselves to this repo. Like, for example, well, here's someone updating information about the NVIDIA driver.
Okay.
And yeah, this list basically can grow. The problem was that in the upstream Kubernetes documentation, we don't really want to be responsible for maintaining such information. In particular, SIG-Docs doesn't want to review such PRs. They don't want to be held responsible if the information becomes stale because a vendor doesn't update their entries. So there was pushback. There was an issue open against the main repo to create such a page in the official Kubernetes IO website, but it was rejected. So this is what we're doing instead.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. I mean, it's valid enough. It's good enough for like shaking the list of the driver. Um, Another questions maybe like related to the DRA example drivers. Currently, it seems like just only the stable one plus some beta feature is included. I just wonder, is there any way that we can like have an extensions examples on that DRA drivers to cover the examples on the alpha feature as well?
Yeah. So coming back to the example driver, that one is definitely meant to support all features that we have in DRA in some, depending on the configuration. So we wanted to work with just the GA features. That's one configuration, the one that we currently have. But then we also want to have other, I think I started calling it profiles at some point, where you say deploy the DRA example driver with support for partitionable devices, or pretending to be managing partitionable devices. And then the effect is supposed to be that the resource slices, for example, include information about partitionable devices. And you could do the same with consumable capacity. And we also had but goes back to the discussion to KubeCon, the last KubeCon, where we said that it's actually okay to call these profiles, say, NVIDIA GPU, and then make those profiles realistic in the sense that we have the same or at least similar attributes as a real NVIDIA DRA driver. At some point, I suggested some policy that we don't arbitrarily add new vendor fake profiles if they don't add new functionality, but the pioneers, in a sense, that they are the first driver to use a feature, certainly could be justified to use as the example for that feature. So if you have a specific DRA driver that uses consumable capacity, you would be more than welcome to add a profile to the example driver that mirrors what you're doing in your driver, except that of course it doesn't really emulate the hardware. It would just schedule, it would just publish resource slices like your driver does, and then on the node, the example driver doesn't do anything beyond, say, simple validation.
Yeah, what I think is that it could be like the same DRA example drivers, but just like with some configurations, we publish additional slides with like consumable capacity. It could be on. Right now, I fork the repo, and I just change the resource slides to have like consumable capacity and have some like test case added for like show the use case example.
Yeah, John Hoon is working on making these profiles configurable.
Okay.
So keep touch base with him where he is with his work, and once he has his base configuration flag in place, it should be it's fairly easy to add new profiles. And the purpose clearly is that, for example, if we want to do scale testing of a feature, we would do it with the example driver.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Because this is also like the source that I found the bug in consumable capacity when I extend the DRA drivers and do the replace over there.
Nothing beats real world testing. You can think about a feature as much as you want, but ultimately unit tests just reflect your own understanding of what needs to be supported, and then reality adds new things that you hadn't considered. That's typically the bugs that we get. It's not that someone really makes a coding mistakes. It's really something that hasn't been thought about.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we discuss as discussed on Slack that happens. That's why we do alpha. The downside, of course, is that if it happens, we release the feature is basically not usable in that release, or will only with that known limitation because we don't backport fixes for alpha features.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. The rules for backporting are actually even higher. We only backport fixes for regressions. That's worth keeping in mind even for beta. If a beta feature, some aspect of a beta feature never has worked, it's not going to be fixed in that release. We learned that with DRA because we had bugs and we thought it would be nice to fix the older release, and then the backport was denied because it just doesn't qualify.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. If that's all, then we can adjourn early today. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you.